So la pièce n'est wawara. La pièce n'est wawara. La tête m'a beau nuit. Y'a un comme l'eau nuit. Pour y voir quand tu mouais, papa. You want hello wawara. Pour se oui mieux wawara bono. Tu peux pas y wawara bono. C'est qu'à un comme l'eau. Il est comme l'eau et moi. Alors qu'il y a pas non plus. Amen. La bienne ici à Cabo. Il y a des propos comme là. Et il y a des. Le bagage est l'eau à vous. On va l'eau à vous. Ranchi est l'eau à vous. Modéralo à l'eau à vous. Le quoi qu'il y a un voisin. Voilà qu'il y a un voisin. C'est qu'il y a un voisin. One kwa gashara o. One kwa gashara. Utali to ne pie kwa gashara. Oh yo. Maya kamara we. Kada maya kamara we. Oh kando. Allo. Allo na jawan kwa nyare. Jawan kwa bro nyo. Anthony Konawo ni. Aho nyukaba nyo la bia. Uso kwa jide. Abi o mo to adori. Ula kubaya yo. He kubaya yo. Yo kubaya yo. Kubaya yo se. Yo. Abi o kubaya yo. Yo kubaya. Abira yo. Mama tewande. Go bro. My body one day. Yeah, one go away. My body one day.
Good morning, folks.
Hey, yeah, oh, no swa.
This morning we'll bring you the talk show.
Yeah, go back, yeah, you.
Good morning, everyone in Facebook and YouTube land. This is a Brun Talk Show, and we're bringing to you this morning the Vice Presidential candidate of the Liberian People's Party, We'll be bringing to you the Vice Presidential candidate of the Liberian People's Party on this show, and he is Dr. Emmanuel UreyYarkpawolo, a compelling Vice President of the Liberian elections 2023. This is the Brun Talk Show, and we come to you every Monday, Tuesdays, and our special edition comes on. Like, this is a special edition. As we wait for Councillor Tawan Gonglo's Vice Presidential candidate, we'll be playing some of the music that actually has been made in his honor. As you can see, the election is on its heat in Liberia, and everyone finding their way to see how they are able to win these elections. People are preparing jingles, people are preparing songs. Very good. We have with us this morning the presidential candidate for the Liberian People's Party, Dr. Emmanuel UreyYarkpawolo. We are about to bring him on show. But before we bring Dr. UreyYarkpawolo, let us get 2 minutes of the song that actually we had on this show playing for Councillor Tawan Gonglo. La pièce n'est wawara. La pièce n'est wawara. La tête m'a beau nuit.
Yawan go no we. Boribo can do more, Papa. You want a lower. What's that with me?
Folks in YouTube and Facebook land, we have with us this morning Councillor Tawan Gonglo's Vice Presidential candidate, Dr. Emmanuel UreyYarkpawolo. Emmanuel UreyYarkpawolo, as you can see screening on this board, he is the only compelling vice presidential candidate of the 2023 elections in Liberia. He is indeed a compelling candidate based on track record, based on his career, based on what he has done for the Liberian people. We will waste no time because we have a lot of things to do this morning. We'll bring to you strictly Dr. Emmanuel UreyYarkpawolo. Good morning, Dr. Yarkpawolo, and how are you this morning, sir?
Good morning to you, Julius, Zoka. Good morning to all of your listeners. I'm doing okay this morning. I arrived in Minnesota yesterday evening, along with the team headed by Joe Merdenberg. We've been having a lot of good time. So I'm here this morning, looking forward to a good interaction, 2-week interaction here in the diaspora with our supporters and hopefully bringing more people on board. So very happy this morning to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yarkpawolo. And we also want to welcome you on our show. This is the Broom Show. You're watching us from all walks of life. And this morning, we will be having this interaction with Dr. Emmanuel UreyYarkpawolo. But just for a few minutes, we're just going to play again this song for 2 minutes so that you can be able to understand what the Liberian people have for you. Again, Dr. Yarkpawolo, it is a pleasure having you on our Broom Show this morning. And instead of wasting a lot of time, we're going to go straight into our interview. My name is Junius D. Zoka II, and I'm the moderator of this show, the Broom Talk Show. And the broom is an indication, in our household, broom sweep a lot of trash. Liberia is where you have a lot of trash since President George Emmanuel came to power as a president. Today, you see in our country, there are lots of our young people who have been messed up with drugs. The economy is broken down. All parts of our ecology in Liberia are broken down. There's complete disintegration. There is no social interaction with our children. Now, the Liberian People's Party bringing out its presidential candidate, Councillor Tawan Gonglo, and the vice presidential candidate, Dr. Emmanuel UreyYarkpawolo, to become president of this nation. These are people with track record. These are people with high level of probity. We're going to start up with our first question, Dr. Yarkpawolo. Can you share with us a little bit to our listener your background, and how do you think your background complement your presidential candidate?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. My on the order table, I have my broom. So this is a broom show. The broom cannot stay behind. So I have to quickly go ahead and grab. This is our walking stick. It's symbolic. But it's going to be practical come January 2024. When we are inducted into office, the Liberian people will know the practical nature of this broom and they will feel it in terms of the improvement in their lives after we swept corruption. My name is Dr. Emmanuel UreyYarkpawolo. I put a dot there for the formality, but that's not more important. Call me Emmanuel, call me Urey or Yarkpawolo, that's totally fine. The PhD is more like how do you use it to change society rather than towing title all the time. That's not too important to me. I was born in a small village called Gomu in Bakuli, that's in Bon County, very close to the Guinea border. I was 2 years old when my mother passed away. So I didn't get to know her, but I did not start school until 1989, telling my father I wanted to go to school. He promised to send me to school to a nearby town for what, 1990. Yet 1990, the Civil War started, so that started the entire process. So I didn't go to school. Conscripted as a child soldier almost 2, 3 different times, but all those times we ran away, my brothers and I. We did not want to be fighters for that matter. It was the 1994 war that finally drove for him to Guinea. He was in Guinea. I went to go stay with my sister, who I told her I wanted to go to school. She wanted to send me to school, a French school, but then she got ill and passed away. It was not until 1995 I told my father, stay, I wanted to go to school. And he told me that I was too old now to go to school, so I should learn blacksmith. I actually went to the blacksmith shop, spent about 3.5 weeks in the shop. Then I ran away. I went back and still I want to go to school. The next thing he said, the war destroyed all my properties in Liberia. When we get there, how is it that? How are you going to manage? And I said, God will provide. Anyway, 1995, for the first time at the age of almost 14, I started going to school, started in the kindergarten. Fast forward, 2005, I graduated from high school, Limela High School, a top high school in Monrovia, as a student council president, valedictorian, and for that class and for the school that year. I will go on to Cuttington to finish Cuttington 3 years instead of 4. Get back to Cuttington, got a master's degree or awarded scholarship, ended up at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the U.S., where I got a second master's degree in 2013. And by 2018, I have obtained a Doctor of Philosophy in the field of political ecology. Studying the root causes of poverty and the environmental impact of that poverty. Anyway, that's basically it. So at the age of 14, started school at the age of 37. I become one of the top highly educated people in the United States and, of course, in the world. But education is yet one thing. What do you do with it to transform society? Is the major point of discussion. After getting my PhD in 2018, I returned to Liberia, primarily to help pass the land right law. I have started working on that law since 2010 when I started working with the Land Commission, researching the law, critical issues in the law. In fact, my master's thesis in 2013 was geared towards developing policy for the law. Over 90% of my recommendation in the master's thesis ended up in the land right policy. And in fact, my PhD also largely addressed that issue in Liberia. It was during that time I started to interact with Councillor Tiawan because he was serving as a consultant to the Land Commission. I was focused on the research, he was focused on the legal part, not just us alone, a host of civil society members working with the government at the time. And then, but the intention of my going back was to help pass a law because after the Ebola outbreak, the law got stalled in the corridors of the National Legislature and it was not moving anywhere. So I took on and carried an American NGO to Liberia, and that focuses on international land reform for rural communities around the world. And through that process, worked with civil society, defended the bill at the Liberian Senate, and eventually the law got passed in 2018. It was signed by President Weir. The current version of the law that was passed, I actually took 2 days to edit in my office. So the current version we have is from my office directly to Senator George Tengbe and on to the presidency for signature and publication into handbill. So yes, that's just one piece of the work we do with a PhD. But what are we establishing One Life Liberia, an NGO that focuses on education and sustainable agriculture in Liberia, and many other things that will be involved with what it could be scholarship, tuition, aids, and what are leading the college that I started as a warehouse manager at the Salvation Army Polytechnic today. It was a vocational school. when I started as a warehouse manager, then later on promoted and later on developed a curriculum to set it up as associate degree program. By then I got my PhD. I will go back to serve as president for that college. And by last year, that college had been lifted to full bachelor degrees and granting institution. So those are just some brief background. I am married to Mrs. Vivian UreyYarkpawolo, and we have five kids, a girl and four boys. The big boys, one of them is in the U.S. military, the other one is in college, the rest of them are in high school, and our little daughter, who is just 5 years old now, come from a large family background. Our father, was practiced polygamism, of course. He did not have any formal education, but he managed to learn tailoring to sew clothes early on. He got some wealth out of that, and he married a lot of many wives. So I have a lot of brothers and sisters. Many of them are based in Bond County, and some are in Monrovia as well. So that's my brief background to set the stage for the discussion.
Thank you so much, Dr. UreyYarkpawolo. You heard him. Dr. Yarkpawolo is saying that it's not the degree that matters, but how practical you can implement that in your life. One of the greatest presidents of the United States, John F. Kennedy, said, "As we stand here to give gratitude to our people, it must not just be the highest gratitude, but how that gratitude can be expressed practically." You've heard him. He's gotten a degree. He has to go back to Monrovia to make sure that he passed a law that will have impact on the Liberian people. Dr. Yarkpawolo, when you elected as vice president for Liberia, what policy area do you plan to focus?
So, as Vice President for the Republic of Liberia, my policy areas align and are embedded with the President. And the Honorable, the Learning Counselor, Timothy Gonglo, the man who is most qualified to lead Liberia at this point in time. And the Liberian people cannot afford to miss this man. So, my policies are embedded in his policy. Because according to the Constitution, the way our law is set up, I am to be the helper. I am to be a helper to the president. That's my role. So we have discussed our ideas align perfectly, our value system align perfectly, our strategies align perfectly. So what we're going to do basically is our 10-point agenda we have developed. And the 10-point agenda is basically how do you transform Liberia and set it as a stage where eventually it becomes a middle income country, eventually into a developed country. The 10-point, very simple, straightforward. We're not going on the moon to do anything. We are using our resources that are available to us to be able to change the lives of the Liberian people. If we have time, I can go through the 10-point agenda. But just to talk about few, we have talked about road infrastructure. It is a right of free movement of people according to the Constitution. When during this rainy season, you can't get to Maryland, you can't get to places in Lofa because the roads are so bad. It means that government is not functioning properly. The government is not implementing the Constitution. So we make sure that public works stations are in every county responsible for the road maintenance throughout the year. So you no longer have a situation where you have mud. You have a situation where you can leave from Monrovia the same day and reach to Harper City. It used to happen before. So road infrastructure is tapped, farm to market is tapped on the agenda because we feel that that's an engine of growth when you get better road throughout the country, not just through certain part of the country. Education, we talk about from ABC all the way to 12th grade should be free. It should actually be free. We're not just talking about free simply because you say it's free. We're talking about school system where people feel more confident to send their kids to school rather than private school. And so private school children will be going to government school. Why? Because the government school will be better than private school. Chairs are available. We eliminate volunteer teachers. Those who have been doing volunteer teachers, we say thank you very much. Those who are qualified, we train them and pay them. Teaching is a difficult job. How can one be doing it voluntarily? How do you monitor the person's progress? How do you do that? So government raise the money, we pay the people. Post-solar system, water system in the school, all across Liberia. We make sure vocational schools are all across Liberia. A vocational school that train young people for specific skills, and right after that they gain employment. This is not a vocational school where you go there and spend a year or two, then you graduate, then you're looking for a job. No, you are tilled towards a particular job, and the job market is actually waiting for you. In fact, before you graduate, you would have been employed already from the internship you're going to go on. So a specific kind of thing, not the one where skill training all over the place. The young people go for a skill training, haphazard one, then they come out, there's no job. Then what is skills training set for? We want to make sure that is across the entire country. We want to make sure our university systems are best compared to anyone in West Africa, but affordable, right? Affordable for the citizen. And citizen will be able to pay for them to get university education. In the healthcare sector, we want to make sure that our healthcare system is improved. How do we do that? We start by ourselves. The counselor had told me, and I agree with him. Let's set the rule for ourselves. We don't pray for illness. Nobody pray to become sick. But we are not better than other Liberians. So if we are sick in Liberia, during our presidency, if God forbid, we'll be treated in government hospital and clinic in Liberia, not even private. Not to say that you had to be flying out of the country. No. If we're going to set that for ourselves, that's a higher order standing. Our lives also depend on it. So it has to be good. Because we are not better. If you are president or vice president, you are just Liberian like any other Liberian. You're only having the authority to lead the country, that's all. So if we set that standard for ourselves, one can then think about how we're going to transform that healthcare sector in terms of paying a kind of wage that commensurate with the medical doctors and the nurses, training more, building more hospitals and clinics, but making sure also doctors that are leading the hospitals don't have parallel clinic, don't have parallel drugstores. It's a conflict of interest. You can only do one. You can be a head of the hospital, and then you are well paid. You need not, if you want to move in the private sector, but you can do both. Because realize that how sometimes the drugs are taken from the hospital and carried in the private clinic. We're going to eliminate that. More so, we say children under 5 years and pregnant women, free medical care. We say the elderly from 65 and up, free medical care. Those in between, affordable medical care. Rice importation. Why is it that a country of 5 million people will be waiting for rice to come from a country of 1 billion people before they can eat? It doesn't really make sense to us. Again, we're not going anywhere. Government is usually providing subsidies to rice importers to make sure the right price is affordable in Liberia. They do that by tax waiver or direct cash to the importers. We take that money and turn it inward, purchase equipment, supply the leaf farmers, make sure that we improve our farming system so that it's not the colors they say the people using. In fact, the young people of today don't want to go into that whole system. They want to do agriculture as a form of employment, right? So, and then we equip the Ministry of Agriculture, carry in terms of research, but also the military. We are not at war. So we improve the agriculture department of the military. So the military can help with extension services in terms of land clearing, in terms of work that's supposed to be done. I want to make sure that in every county, rice is produced sufficiently to feed Liberia and also to be able to export. Again, back to education, one thing I need to talk about is we have promised to eliminate illiteracy rate in Liberia in 2 years. Some people say, oh, this is how are you going to do that? We have a very simple formula how to do that. High school student from 10 to 12th grade, take at least 10% in your community who can read and write. You're responsible to teach them how to read and write every day. You have a small meeting with them. We get a curriculum. You follow that curriculum guide to be able to do that. And you are paid every month, right? And periodically, people are coming to evaluate your students. High school students get jobs through that method. If we do that in 2 years' time without eliminating illiteracy rate in Liberia, everybody will be able to read and write. So many more we can talk about the culture and the art and many, many more. But let me stay here. Let me leave it here. If you have additional questions in terms of additional areas that we can be talking about it.
You have just listed all of the challenges our country faces right now regards the roads. We're talking about food sufficiency. We're also talking about the education. Our law also states there is a law that says vocational education should be should be embedded in every other high school. Do you intend to make all high school in your country, since we have a lot of our kids today are in the street and they have to be removed from the street, be put in some camp, and when they come back, if they have to go to school, do you intend in pressing on all of the high schools to be able to put in vocational institution? And if there is a need for subsidy, will your government be willing to do that?
Our government will be willing to provide subsidies to even private and religious institutions. We will do that because it's a responsibility of the government to provide education. Any other person, any other institution helping with that, government has the obligation to help that person. So subsidies will be part of it in terms of private and philanthropic institutions. The issue about making sure that every high school in Liberia has a vocational aspect has to be investigated. And what we have planned to do and what is in our 10-point agenda is that every county has a specialized vocational programs to be able to help in terms of those who not going to college. Not everybody can go to college because some people will graduate from high school, will go on to college, they will get BSc, Masters, and PhD. And so you don't want to necessarily tie them to compulsory vocational education if at all they are in the high school and the vocational is requirement to the high school. So we want to make sure we study the two. There are already multilateral high schools that's supposed to have vocation. We have the BWI, and then we have one used to be in Israel, one used to be I think in Lofa County. So those definitely will be revised so that they go back to their pre-war status and even do more. An addition will be added. One thing I haven't talked about, which I leave it at the end of it because everything I'm talking about here is money. Even though fighting corruption is number one priority, when I'm explaining our 10-point agenda, I always try to leave corruption at the end of it because I come to the point that everything that I've said, it requires money. The question is, how are you going to get the money? Improve healthcare system, the high school system, the vocational school system, and everything we're talking about in between job creation. We have talked about a company that going to establish, say, 50 miles from Monrovia and beyond, you're going to get some tax break. And the farther you go, the more break you get. What are the wool industry? Why is it that we are exporting our law? Why we can produce Seninta, we can produce good furniture in Liberia? It used to happen before the war, and so we want to bring that back. All those I'm talking about, our mineral sector, everything I'm talking about, it boils down to the country having money. And this is the essence of our room. Corruption is number one in terms of how we implement our policy. Fighting corruption is number one. How do we get rid of corruption? Because the country has money, but the money are in few pockets. The way the country money has been stolen historically and it's been stolen under this administration, the George Weah administration, if you continue like that, the country budget can even go to $5 billion. Still, the people will not feel the impact of development in their lives. So we got to make sure that money does not enter in the pocket of individuals at the head of government. So we have our group room. So our strategy of fighting corruption is basically when we take over in January 2024, the first 3 months we're going to get an integral committee that will be able to investigate the audit report. Those who are stealing, because Liberia is so much used to impunity, when people are stealing, they actually do it in the public view. They would not fear. You see them building mansions. You see them telling you our own money we steal it and then we invest it in Liberia. They're very clear about it. They're not hiding it. So to
Yes,
hold them
that's right.
is not hard at all. It's not anything. They are implicated in audit report, internal auditing agency report, LACC report, GS report. They are all there in the public view. What has been lacking is government and the presidency have not had the will to prosecute. Because in more instances, the presidency itself has been very corrupt. So if you are corrupt, how are you going to corrupt other people? Anyway, what I'm saying in short is we'll get a committee that will bring them up, and then we'll send them to court, and they will go to jail. And those properties they are building today, they're going to be seized and turned over to the Liberian government. That's the strategy of fighting corruption. So we'll go back. Those who have eaten government money, they're not going free on our administration. Those of us there, then we see how do we go about it? We are accountable, so we declare our assets and make it public. Let the public. In fact, we publish all government official salary on the internet. At a click, you'll be able to know the president, the vice president, the senate. You will know their salary because it's constitutional that everything about government should be transparent to the people. So we'll publish the salary. Then we'll conduct lifestyle audit. Every 3 months, we'll check you to see whether you acquire new property, everything you do in your bank account, to see where you're getting the money from. Let us know if you have another investment, clean investment. Of course, some people are wealthy. You come from a wealthy family. You inherited some of the wealth. That's totally fine. We don't have problem with somebody getting rich. We are against individuals getting rich at the expense of the Liberian people. So if we do all that, that's the point of sweeping this corruption and making sure the money is then free to be able to put it to the thing I just discussed earlier in terms of improvement of the lives of the people, water,
Okay.
electricity, and the rest of it.
Dr. Yarkpawolo, before we go to foreign policy, one of the let's just do let's just deviate a little bit before we go to foreign policy. One of the reasons of the TRC was to identify what caused the 10 years war, or in fact, a 14-year war. You just alluded to we're going to be prosecuting government officials who have stolen money from the past. The property will be seized and be turned over to the government for proper use. Are you suggesting that your government going to institute or going to make sure that the TRC recommendation work in Liberia?
Oh, we are very clear. We have been clear for a very long time. And I think some of the politicians that are coming on board as well. We will implement the funding of the TRC. At 2 years, money cannot go to waste, and the funding of the TRC report is so much important to the development and growth of Liberia, so that we can go back to war in the future. It's important. So we are for establishment of war and economic crimes code in Liberia. We are very, very clear.
You are
And
clear on
TRC,
record.
yeah,
You
that
are
is
clear. You just made a news, or Dr. Urey, you just made news that you are going to implement the TRC's recommendation. That is, the war crime and economic code will be settled in your country under your administration. Let's go to foreign policy. Dr. Yarkpawolo, what I would like to know, what is your, how are you going to approach now? Let's first of all put some, as we can say now, Liberian way. Let's put some juice around that first. I was watching a video in France when one of these war criminals was arrested, and this gentleman made the request. He made the statement that corruption and killing goes with impunity in Liberia. And I stretched my eyes. I'm like, what? Is this how we've been looked at on the outside? Is this how we've been looked at on the outside? Now, when you become vice president of the Republic of Liberia, what approach do you intend towards your foreign policy and international relations?
So our foreign policy and international relations are embedded within the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. It's clearly said that everyone should be free, the economic justice, and the rest of it. So our policy is embedded within the rights of individuals across the globe, as stated in the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. So we follow that pattern. So one who does not follow that pattern, then of course we single you, because we are for justice. Remember, part of our method of running for the president and vice president in Liberia is law enforcement. So we enforce law. So if we are enforcing local laws, we are also for international laws and international agreement. And anybody who does not follow those will single you and will not be with you, because you are not following what the international community had come together and set themselves to implement. So basically, our policy would be that we'll be friendly with everybody. Anybody who want to be friendly, we are your friends. If you want to be enemy, we will try to make friendship. When we come to a point wherein we exhaust all other effort, then we take it from there. But we want to make sure that Liberia is a place of hope, like it used to be, right? We can go and dig that hope from the early 1940s to the 50s and 60s, when Liberia really was the father of independence across the country, the continent of Africa, wherein if even diplomatic effort fail, Liberia will institute a lawsuit at some point. So helping to free the continent of Africa. So that part is very important. That history is very important. We want to keep playing that role because Liberia should be a leader in Africa, and we make sure that Liberia take a rightful place as a leader once more on the continent of Africa.
Thank you so much. Now let's go back. We're still on our international policy. Let's look at the United States role in Liberia. Dr. Urey, I'm so sorry, but I'm an old man. But then you were not born. I remember people in Liberia now continue to say, "Oh, we don't want America. Let it go. We got our country. We can do this." But I vividly remember when they have fought up with the Doe government. And Doe was mad. He said, "We're going to pay them out of their debts." And you know what he did? He placed buckets and stuff around all the ministry. We're going to collect money to pay back the United States debt. Maybe we owe them. That's why they want to infringe on our right. And at the end of the day, we didn't even collect 2,000 United States dollars. America is key to our country. Now, how do you see America's role presently in your country in addressing the issues of corruption? And when you become vice president tomorrow, what stand are you going to take to support the effort of the United States government in your country?
Liberian citizens, and that will make sure civics education is also very prominent in our high school system. And the civics education will include not just a Liberian history, but how Liberian history is embedded in the U.S. history. Because if one reads the relationship between Liberia and the United States and over about 200 years now, you will come to appreciate the United States. There was a point in time Great Britain and France were taking over the entire country of Liberia. All right. It was a United States diplomatic effort. We have read primary document warning the countries not to do what they intended after the scramble of Africa. So you really got to go deeper and deeper and deeper, even though there have been some point in a relationship, some struggle in a relationship. But when you take the holistic view of the relationship, you say that Liberia has actually benefited from the United States. And we are still benefiting today. They have been helping. They have put a lot of money in the health sector. They put money in the electricity sector. But more so, they are not going to tell us that, you know why? Use your money to be able to develop your country. So since you don't have the willpower to identify those who are corrupting your money, we'll point them to you. We'll use our own system of investigation and we'll be able to point those who are hurting you as a country and to go ahead sanction some Liberian officials for act of corruption. That's really helpful. And so we are very grateful to the United States. We hope to harness that relationship. We hope to implement the policy if at all one is being sanctioned in Liberia for act of corruption by the U.S. government, you are immediately prosecuted because we're going to the U.S. government and ask for the evidence. We use that evidence in our court system to prosecute you, right? So I think that relationship will be further strengthened under our administration. Helping the United States in terms of furthering democracy on the continent of Africa, but also making sure that accountability, basic human rights, women's rights, and the rest of it are protected. So that we are with the United States, and we'll continue to do that. It's very, very important. The two countries, the history is very, 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 very interesting. But one has to read the history before you can appreciate both relationship. But we'll continue to work with the United States in every way possible.
All right, thank you, Dr. Yarkpawolo. Let's go down to how you intend to engage the citizens, the everyday citizens in your country, and how do you intend to better explain to them. I see that the Liberian People's Party, the candidates appear on most of these media institutions, but let's look at the outside of Monrovia, the suburb where you don't have the opportunity of looking at the Facebook and the radio station does not reach all the way on that side. It has the low transmission and all of that based on because of corruption in government, because the money is being misdirected. How do you intend to engage the everyday citizens in Liberia, those that intend to vote for you? How do you intend, additionally, with what you're doing now, how do you additionally intend to explain to them that, look, every lady who is in a village will know how to read and write, because this is how our country is going to get out of poverty? How do you intend, what method you going to use to explain to them in that way?
One method that has proven really successful, our first running, I say Representative Kennedy for District Number 4, prior to being selected as vice presidential candidate. One thing we did in our district that was very powerful was actually movie, right? It's because my work on the land right law has been documented in a documentary called "The Land Beneath Our Feet," and I can send a link to you in the password. The Land Beneath Our Feet has won several international awards, and so we took that and get carried to a village and allowed the villagers to watch the movie in the night. And in the morning, then we slept in the village. In the morning, we talk to them. And if we talk to them, they have known us already because they see in real time, on film, the work, our advocacy. Really, really powerful. Each time we did that, we got the entire village on our side every day. And the counselor had done similar thing, not video, but the counselor had his connection with people. Counselor traveled to more than 330 towns outside Monserrato, 330 towns across Liberia. Castle went and slept in those home village in Tucson in Grangela. So for that reason, in fact, the Grangela are going to vote for us so heavily because the type of reconciliation he had demonstrated, the villages he has slept in across the country, interacting with people, shaking people's hands, and the rest of it. When you go and sleep to the people, in fact, I slept in one village in the morning. We're having a meeting. The elder said, "You know why? We never see anybody of your color to even come and say they're spending 3 hours here. You can sleep over here. You don't have to tell anything. We're going to vote for you. You don't have to tell, and the love that you have demonstrated." So we're having that kind of engagement across the country as we go along. As the campaign is heating up now, our times and things are getting really tight. So we move to radio programming, wherein we're getting drama, we're getting jingles, we explain our policy in various dialects. Those are played across the country, and our people listen to radio a lot. And the drama come with some laughter, and the rest of it, the message is going. So we're using all kinds of methods, but our supporters in the diaspora, they have their own group across the country. What are billboards, or what are flyers, stickers, and anything you think about. Even bull homes, like we're doing in Monrovia. I go in Monrovia, I take my bull home, just go ahead, run my own campaign in the market area. And you see the market women are so happy because they're doing the same thing. You're going all around the place. So our campaign style is extremely different. And in fact, our opponent, they can't understand our campaign style and they cannot catch up with us because we are ordinary people. We are just ordinary people. We don't have time to say that reservation to go among public, to go to people, shake people's hand and do all that stuff. Because I live in village before, I live in the village until I was 14 years. We don't have problem. So our campaign is different. And that how the election result going to be different in our favor, and they will be surprised.
Folks, if you're listening to us in Facebook link and YouTube, you are listening to this phenomenal young man having an interview with us on the Bloom Talk Show. He is the vice presidential candidate of the Liberian People's Party. And indeed, he is the compelling vice presidential candidate. You want to count all of the vice presidential candidate, bring them here, and we're going to interview them to see how much knowledge they have acquired, to see how much experience they have acquired, to see how much practical work they have done, that you can be able to pair to say, yes, we want to elect his party, that he can serve as vice president for this country. Dr. Yarkpawolo, on the line of education, I love to hear this. I know that Councillor Tawan Gonglo's father was a teacher. He himself is a teacher. And you having a PhD, I know you have tutored some people as well. Looking at the modern day education in this country, United States, where you had all of the education, as compared to, now you first said that there were teachers who were making sacrifices voluntarily. In that light, let's go a little bit back. Teachers back in the days are teaching materials because they were being taught by people the same way. Teachers who taught them were those who had education back in the 60s and 70s. Nothing have changed for them. They still use the same academic way of teaching the other people today of the 70s way of teaching. You have learned in this country. Given this situation, are you agreeing with the masses that say the teachers in Liberia are unqualified or they lack opportunities for experience? What is your thought in that?
I think to blanketly say they are unqualified, I think, frankly, would be an insult to some of them. Because some of them are qualified. Some of them gone to teacher training college. Some of them got their education in the 80s and 90s. It might be old schools, but what they learn is very good. And they are sacrificing their time. They're working under difficult circumstances. Sometimes they even have to look for way to buy chalk just to teach. So some of them are doing it because of passion. And just to say they are unqualified, I think is unfair to them. Lack of opportunity for improvement, yes, because again, government is supposed to provide the enabling environment to make sure teachers, first in government school systems, are well trained, they are upgraded with technology constantly, and making sure that those are done in the private school system as well. Government failure to do those things, yes, the teachers are undergoing pressure and they really suffering. And a lot of them are actually in the classroom because of passion. I have met some of them. They have volunteered for 10 years, some 15 years, some up to 20 years. They've been volunteering as teachers. So and we want to commend them. So our administration will do differently, and by making sure those that have the skill, we augment their skill and give them and employ them so that they are on salary to make sure their skills are built, to make sure that they know how to use computers, to make sure that internet services are provided so that they know computers and they're able to do research online. Those things will be provided. And then you will see productivity, you will see our students coming up very, very, very high. So I think a way forward is one, we get the money, invest in the education sector, and make sure these people are uplifted and they do their best because they love teaching. That's why they are in the classroom and want to make sure they are successful, not just by imparting knowledge, but they themselves are successful financially because their families also depend on them for survival.
Let's go to the role aspects because these are important highlights that we have that you're going to be taking on as vice president and when your party wins tomorrow. Role sector, we see that many contracts being awarded to contractors. They get on the roll, they go with one or two equipment on the roll, and and after a few times, they call it a complete role. As a matter of fact, the government, quote unquote, has resident engineers in some of these areas. And here is the thing: the resident engineers are being taken on the site of the contractor by the contractors. Okay, because they lack vehicles, they lack even a tape that they can tape through that they need to measure other things. The contractors provide these things. What negative impact or positive impact do you think it have on your regional engineer, and how can this be improved?
So I think, I think again, the bottom line is corruption, right? One may ask, why is it that we don't have American companies, German companies, or even sometimes Israeli companies in Liberia constructing roads? If you study the dynamic of it, European countries come to Liberia. Part of the reason is the corruption in the Liberian government. You know, as an American company, if they corrupt abroad, they'll be prosecuted by whom? And so, if the country is set up in a way that it's really impossible for you to do any business without corrupting, then no need for you to go there. And so, some other areas people get in there who are prone to corruption as well. But under our administration, we get rid of that. So if you have a resident engineer who is well qualified and who his pay, he pay commensurate with his profession. He doesn't need to take bribe from anybody. A bidding system, what a local or international bidding system to construct a role, go through the necessary processes of bidding and qualification. A qualified company is selected to be able to do the job. And even if foreign company is doing a job, it's mandatory under the law that was developed by the chancellor, the labor law of Liberia, under his administration and labor minister at the time. That law is enforced. Certain job only supposed to be done by Liberians, not foreigners. And there's supposed to be transfer of knowledge so that when a foreign company is operating, I think certain period of time, knowledge is transferred, capacity of Liberians are built, so they take over the job. All those are not being implemented. Our problem is implementation of laws. And I think that's the counselor at his best. Being a lawyer over 35 years, fighting for justice and fighting for poor people, that's his area. And one of his strengths is rule of law implementation. And once we put those in place, infrastructure development will go on. You won't have a situation where from the RIA to Monrovia, that road been there for almost 2 years, it can be built, and they start to build a road from all over. How do you build all the road at the same time? I never seen stuff like that before. To say that you're going to build from RIA to red light at the same time, I'm not an engineer, but my experience, even though I've been the road from the they call the Japanese highway now, that's the across there from rail line all the way to Freeport, that road Somalia Drive, they did it in stages. So you build a road at a certain point, direct the traffic, you continue. But I don't know which of the East International Company, they start to build a road from RIA straight to Monrovia at the same time, and it's been messy for almost 2 years. It's disgraceful. Stuff like that won't happen under our administration because our company clearly they don't know what they're doing and I don't know how they got selected. Almost 100%, one can say their selection is based on corruption. That's
Thank
tough
you
not
so
to
much,
happen by the administration.
Dr. Urey. And I'm not going to hold you for long because you have another meeting to go to. Before we make use of the next 10 minutes, before I give you a question, let me just go a little bit into that role section. As a matter of fact, the Minister of Public Works complained that the contract was signed without the knowledge of the Ministry of Public Works. It was just signed in the legislature. It was just signed in the House, and they didn't know anything about it. Senator just went and brought people in and signed that. And as a civil engineer, when I did a visit in Liberia 2 days of 5-6 months ago, I saw that there is a complete inconsistency when it comes to construction works done. There is not safety provided for our pedestrians, neither. And I witnessed as soon as you turn in, yeah, there be a junction on the left-hand side. There was a truck that fell in that ditch, and that car got damaged completely. The second incident was like 10 miles away from the airport on the right-hand side. There was a pickup that got dumped in there because there is not a safety. I mean, no safety things were put in place. Those sticks that they have painted with red, they are not reflective paint. Those are paint that you normally paint on your house. Okay, and there is too much thing that is wrong with that road, or what we call crossing the covered, the second to the last covered being constructed before the airport. They use 10 millimeter rebar or steel rod in the common way, 10 millimeter, which you cannot even use on your house. It's not prescribed for your house. That is a mess, and those things has to be taken out completely. That the next government will not have problem with that. To sum up, which I would consider it you giving us your final thing before we leave. You just mentioned that you sometimes took part in the elections. So what I would like to know, Dr. Urey, what personal values and principles guide your decision making as a politician?
I think
And then you will close up with.
yes, I think, and that's an excellent question. And so it brings me to the argument in Liberia that people say discuss the issue but not the personality. To me, the two are not different. Are not different. If at all you say personality in terms of insulting somebody, saying nasty thing, no. But the two are tied together because the personality drives the issue. If the personality of the person is corrupt and the person can steal, you can rest assured they will steal in government. So the two are together. So that's an important question. My philosophical ideas guide me stand from a high moral ground. I'm a Christian, so I believe in the principles of the Bible. But besides that, I believe in justice. Justice be done to all men. I believe common thing like do unto others as you wish them to do unto you. Those kind of small things, I hold them very, very high. And those kind of drive my public perception. And I think those kind of value is the one we need in the presidency. Believe in justice, believe in democracy, believe in the right of people, believe in the right of women and children. Those things. Um, not believe in cheating and not believe in stealing and not believe in impunity because those things I hold myself very high to that level. In fact, if you ask my wife and ask my children, they will tell you. They will tell you more about me because those are the people I interact with day and night. My children know their father, and my wife knows her husband. So those things, I think, we need those things in leadership, and for the leadership to be effective, those personal values are extremely important. Closing statement. Thank you, Zoka, for this opportunity in the Broom Show for
And let me
allowing
let,
me.
let me hold you there. Let me hold you there, Dr. Urey. Before you close, there are lots of commendation here for you. Let me just scream that. Let me just put that on the screen, doctor, so you can see that. Oh, this is from Jebe Kawashi. Say, hi, this is very interesting to me, but the timing is right in the middle of my work day. And then we have another from Dr. Kwanendo. He said, welcome, Dr. UreyYarkpawolo. We also have another one again. This lady is very, very phenomenal, Dr. UreyYarkpawolo. You're going to speak with her. She is very, very phenomenal. She said, you raised a good point about your 10-point plan. And there's another one again from her. She's so happy she wants to meet this young man. I like this way of thinking. No one is better than the other. We all have equal value. And just guess what? She has been talking to us. Look, guys, you have to have bring more women on the board. And telling she has been extravagant. She has been bringing a lot of women on board. So she is just saying, look, you know why? I got the right guy. Doctor, what will the Gonglo Yarkpawolo administration do? Okay, so this is a question. I will let you answer this to ask this question. Dr. Yarkpawolo, what will the Gonglo Yarkpawolo administration do with funds retrieved from corrupt government officials from past and present regime? That's your question, Dr. Yarkpawolo. What
Thank
are you
you,
going to
thank
do with the
you.
money?
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. The answer is simple, right? We will give it back to the Liberian government and we'll put it back in the government coffers. Is our money? We put our money back in the development fund. If the property, we seize that property and we decide what to do with it. We can turn it, we can use our government agency can move in our property and use it, or government can dispose of the property. Government can sell the property and use the money for development. So we retrieve it, and then for the Liberian people, it was stolen from them. So again, just a call for when one property is stolen, is retrieved, give it to the owner. The Liberian people own it, so we'll get turn it and give it back to the Liberian people. That's basically what we'll do. No question about it. Straightforward.
And Dixon said, brilliant young man. I said that here. I said that you are a very brilliant young man, Dr. Yarkpawolo, not because you're on this camera, but like I told you from the beginning, you are very, very phenomenal. And it is nice having you. Now you can go on to your uh, final saying, and then we can be able to let you go because you have another meeting to go to. It's almost 11 o'clock.
Exactly. So what I want to say is that thank you very much for this show. Thank you for the Broom Show. And I want to talk to the diaspora Liberians, specifically those who are listening to me and who would view the show later. You are doing well for Liberia. You send remittance, say, but the reason why the pressure is on you is life is difficult in the country. You have a team now, the UreyYarkpawolo ticket. We want to make sure that the economic situation in Liberia is improved so your people gain employment. If that happens, some of the pressure will reduce on you. I live in the country myself. I went to school here. I know how difficult things are here. But for us to solve this problem, Liberia has to be lifted out of poverty. And so that yourself, you pay attention to the most important things that you need to be focusing. That's why I'm asking the diaspora Liberians to help our ticket. Make a phone call your people and tell them this is the best ticket. If you had $1 or two, donate to our campaign because it's difficult for us to do it without support. And so we keep asking for your support. The investment you made today will pay off tomorrow. Yourself will benefit because the pressure would have been reduced on you. There's too much of calling when your people can earn their own living, when your young people can go to school. Not necessarily you have to send tuition to them all the time. So we're asking you, and if you are planning to invest in Liberia, go also and invest in Liberia. It's extremely important. We'll make sure corruption will be minimized in the way that when you bring your investment, they will be protected. So thank you very much. I do appreciate you. Let's work together to improve our country. Our voting, many of you won't be there to vote, but tell your people, the two men with the broom in their chest, they are
The
wearing
twin.
white, yeah, the red, white,
The
and
twin.
yeah, the broom, and they have the red, white, and this is
I
like I'm
know.
sitting here. I'm sitting here. This is like just saying here. This is the picture we have on the ballot box. We are number 6. So be specific. Tell them they have the country that red, white, and blue. They have hat. Two of them look the same. They have the broom. You can see the broom in their chest, and their number is 6. So go and vote for number 6. That will help us. Yes, right there. This one, that one, that picture you put up with two of us holding the broom. So not the one two of us holding the broom. This
This is
one
it.
is the one is yeah, similar thing like this. But the
This
pictures
is
are
it.
two side by side. And then
That's it right there.
you see a broom like this. So tell them those are the people that you vote for. That number is number 6. Liberia's story will be changed because of the number. So we say thank you very much. I do appreciate all of you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. UreyYarkpawolo. And it was nice having this conversation with you. Thank you so much. And when you don't see us again, you will see us on Saturday. This has been the Broom Talk Show with Dr. UreyYarkpawolo and Junius G. Zoka II, your moderator. Thank you so much, Dr. Yarkpawolo, and I'll see you. Good day. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
day, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you.
Folks, you just listened to us, and we had a very, very extravagant interview with the presidential candidate of the Liberian People's Party. We will close out the curtain with this music.